Okay. Good evening, everyone. Hi, my name is 𝗟𝗏𝗀𝗲𝗂𝗏𝗂𝗧𝗏. Welcome to this new episode of LinkedIn for Leaders, a show that we do every week. And we have conversations with various leaders talking about the tactics and the ways and the strategies that you can actually use to build your leadership narrative. Today, we have with us Anshuman Tiwari. Hi, Anshuman. Welcome to the show.
Hey. Hi, Karan. Thank you very much for inviting and looking forward to this, speaking to your audience.
Fantastic. And as the audience will know, there's a long introduction that we have for Anshuman, which is there in the show notes. But I want to start by a quick anecdote. This is actually probably the second time I'm meeting Anshuman. The first time was about 2 years ago when we met at a LinkedIn creator meetup. And I was just telling Anshuman just before this, he very kindly, because he talks so much in depth about the importance of building relationships and then potentially having an ask. And I was like, I really appreciate the fact that I reached out to you and then you were open to it. So thank you again, Anshuman, for being here today.
No, you are doing good work. You're trying your best. And I'm always there for people who are trying to do some good work. And look, everybody's on a journey. Today you might be at 10, tomorrow you'll be at 100. So uh, it is our duty to support people who are trying something new. So, thank you to you to invite me.
Thank you very much, Anshuman. And very briefly, Anshuman has published over 250 episodes on his video podcast. He's given over 100 different talks. He's cumulatively generated value of over $250 million across a variety of different spectrums. But today we're here to talk about Anshuman's LinkedIn brand, his personal brand on LinkedIn, and the fact that he has been a top voice consistently for the last 4 years, 22, 23, 24, and 25. So I have a brief presentation that I will just sort of talk, us through. What I would invite everyone in the audience also to do is, just in the chat over there, tell us what is something that you love about Anshuman's content. And I've got a bunch of questions. We'll keep this conversational. As we know, this is 30 minutes and it goes by very quickly. So I'll jump straight into this. Presentation that I will just sort of talk, LinkedIn. What I would invite everyone in the audience also to do is, just in the chat over there, tell us what is something that you love about.
I can hear some echo.
Yeah, I can. Do you have? I've got a bunch of questions. As we know,
I think this must be my mobile.
Very quickly, so I'll jump straight into.
So let me.
No worries.
Yeah, so the stream might have gone live on the mobile,
so
which I normally do.
Yeah,
So now done.
Listening to us, that's good. So thank you for that confirmation. Very quickly about the LinkedIn Top Voice, program itself. It's an invite-only program. LinkedIn assesses it twice a year, so it speaks a lot that Anshuman has gone through 8 assessments and is still a top voice, over 4 years. Key things that they look for is platform presence. How prominent are you on the platform? The quality and originality of the content that you're creating. The depth of the content, subject matter expertise. What track record do you have? How does it show up on your profile in the various positions that you've held over a period of time? How consistent are you in talking about a particular thing? Safety, trust, and professionalism are 3 core guidelines of the part of LinkedIn's community values. So how you show that, and prominence. Quite often, LinkedIn editors, they will also give a top voice to someone who has not even posted on LinkedIn, but is a really well-known personality in the real world, right? So some of the perks you get is free LinkedIn Premium Business membership, get invited in LinkedIn editorial articles, and join exclusive top voice events and programs. Now, before we move ahead, a quick pause, because I think, and there is a number of questions over here, so I'm going to try and run through them quickly. But context setting is very, very important, right? So Before we jump into talking about the profile itself, I think it's very important to understand the mindset of the individual and why certain key things are important to them. So, first question to you, Anshuman, what's important to you and why do you talk about it?
Well, this is a very deep question, Karan. What is important? My happiness is most important to me. I live my life very light, and I am generally happy kind of a person, and I like to preserve that happiness. But in the context of LinkedIn Top Voice and LinkedIn that you ask, I understand your question a little better. Uh, at the stage of my career that I am, I do understand my responsibility of sharing what I've learned and whatever I can articulate with others who might need it. I understand that not everybody will need it or might not want it, but there might be that one person who needs to read my post today. So
Hmm.
that drives me on a daily basis. And many times that one person actually writes back to me saying that, I needed this post today, or thank you very much. And that truly makes my day. And that drives me to talk about things that I talk, generally career guidance, having been working for a long career and still interested in another 25 years of my career. I think I can share some stories, nuggets, and if it helps people, awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I can totally imagine, Anshuman being like Gandalf with the staff and standing there and still giving out amazing inspiration talks and stories. What gives you energy?
I think people give me energy, Karan. I'm very clear about this that I'm most happy, energetic when I'm speaking to people, not only talking to them, but listening, speaking, being around people. And that's been the case for a long time now. So, and I recognize that and I try to cultivate that a little bit. I don't miss out, like if there's a meetup happening, I try my best to go there. And even if three people turn up, I'm more than happy because that truly makes my day. So that definitely gives me energy. One of the reasons I agree to be on any such podcast, and yours is a fantastic one, is more because you feel that energy that people are there. They are, even if you can't see the people, you have that positive vibe that there are people.
Amazing.
Uh, I mean, in I would say, in true sense, I am a very introverted kind of a person. So I need this going out kind of thing to keep my balance in life. So although I get called out as a very extroverted and loud person sometimes, but actually I am a very introverted person. So
Yeah,
I can be happy in my room for 2 months and I don't need anybody. so, so
and I'm sure that
this
that's
is,
something that you've probably talked about the
yeah,
ability to be like an extroverted introvert, right? That's also a skill.
absolutely. Yeah. Oh,
Um,
you are, now I have to put on my glasses to read.
what
What kind of leadership do you
feeling
feel?
is
Yeah.
missing in the world today?
See, goes without saying, firstly, empathetic leadership is very much required. A lot of leaders or so called leaders don't want to think from the team point of view.
Hmm.
They are lost in their own world and only driven by numbers, which is not bad. I mean, obviously, you have to deliver numbers, but some empathy for the people who are doing that work for you. Eventually, leadership is a gift your people give you. It's not something that you have acquired. It's a gift people give you, and you have to earn that gift daily. So the other aspect of leadership, in the sense that you ask, is I always say visible leadership. So you
Hmm.
being a very good leader doesn't mean anything to anybody if you can't stand in their time of sorrow.
Hmm.
So if somebody is having a tough day and you can't look them in the eye and say that, hey, Karan, what is wrong? Everything okay? Tell me more about it.
Hmm.
And keep that work aside. If you can't visibly demonstrate that leadership, then rest of it doesn't matter.
Hmm.
Then dancing and being with them in parties and brown bag lunches and all is all nonsense.
Yeah.
Because when that person is low, when that person needs you, if you can't demonstrate visible leadership, then nothing else matters. So these 2 points I would say. Yeah.
So empathetic and visible leadership. How should leaders share their voice online today?
It's a personal choice, Karan, I would say, but I have chosen to use LinkedIn as a platform to share my voice. Uh, and of course, I go to many other offline and online forums also, like yourself, to share my voice. But there are other people who decide to, let's say, write a book. There are other people who decide to go and teach at a institute. All of them are sharing their voice. So the medium can be chosen by the person, and I don't believe that online is the only medium. And there are multiple people I know who are fantastic leaders and share their voice, but are hardly present on LinkedIn
Mm.
or Twitter or whatever. So I think this overemphasis on online is the current, uh, I I would say, fad.
Mm.
uh, True leadership is built offline. So if you can't meet a person and put a hand around their shoulder and say kya haal chal hai, so then everything else is just a mirage. This is gone, whatever is your LinkedIn following uh, doesn't mean anything.
Like you said, empathetic and visible leadership, right?
Yeah, the extension of that, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. So, a couple of things about, and these are things people in the audience would also know. Like we already had a couple of comments saying Anshuman is bold and candid. Swati says simplicity with which Anshuman shares valuable insights. And Aman says the way Anshuman San responded to the other questions, it seems he knows us quite well, right? So I think relatability is a key thing that people find. So, like I've said also on screen over here, Anshuman seems to have a very no nonsense, candid. This is who I am, and but he shows up with kindness, irreverence, very insightful, and sometimes ironic, right? Take interesting takes on some of the content that he also sort of shares. A lot of practical work tips, job advice, stuck to shine, something we'll talk about in a short while, life observation, people profiles, and we also, in that first create a meetup, there was actually maybe I was this is 2 years ago, so I didn't know a lot of the creators out there. So I actually had met someone in that same meetup who had been following Anshuman's content for a very long time, and this is something that she had to share. So she says, this is Rashmi Singh, who talks about wellness. He's very real and knows how hard work can never get substituted, hence sharing the same for the youngsters. His management tips through human stories makes you understand corporates and how you could be treated. He doesn't run behind numbers, likes. He's here to share a part of his life, which he does very well without making it a forced thing. He always carries these huge insights from the littlest of things. He's extremely kind, friendly, and helpful. Uh,
Thank you, Rashmi, and others who also commented. But you put in some work, Karan, to reach out to people, and definitely makes one feel special. But I truly appreciate what Rashmi is saying. It shows her kindness to notice all this, right? So I'm who I am, but it's people like Rashmi and others, Swati, and I think others who commented. They make me feel a little special, but otherwise, I'm just one of all of us. I always say I'm that 99% of all of us. So yeah, thank you once again.
and that's amazing. I think people feel seen through you, through your content, which is why there's a lot of relatability. Um,
Possible.
Thank you everyone for that. Moving on. So, I think a lot of the time when you're writing content, you're thinking about presenting your narrative a certain way. It helps to have a framework, have clarity on what is something that is truly important to you. Like for example, Anshuman shared a couple of minutes ago, people are really important. Empathetic and visible leadership is really important, right? And he shows up a certain way. Now, taking that a little further, Anshumanji, brick by brick, manage better, stuck to shine. from an outside-in perspective, seem like frameworks under which, a lot of your content is sort of structured. You talk through these different lenses. So I'm curious to know, what is the origin story? Where did the need come to frame it a certain way through which you then write?
So there was no specific need, Karan. I think I was speaking about topics and occasionally repeating topics, and after a while, some format kind of stuck. So I didn't build a brand and then thought what to write about it. The brand emerged. So since you asked, I will share origin story of all three very briefly. Brick by brick, credit goes to my friend Pranay Loya, another top voice. We were together at a workshop or a conference actually, and this was, I think, in that short period of 2 3 months. This was the third time I was speaking at stage, and I used the phrase brick by brick. And at this conference, by coincidence, we got very little time to speak. So I had like 5 minutes to speak or something like that. So sometimes you have to then make a very hard choice. What will you speak in that 5 minutes when you had prepared for half an hour? So I ended up speaking about brick by brick, which is the concept of what happens before compounding kicks in. You have to put in the hard work. You have to put in uh, you put in life brick by brick, and then the wall starts coming up, and at some point people will notice the wall. Uh, but what do you do when nobody notices the wall? This is life, right? So that makes you, after the wall is up, everybody is around and will reach out to you and everything. You are alone when you are doing that brick by brick, and that is your life.
Yeah.
Of course, once the wall is there, you can build more walls and you can extend that metaphor as you want. But that's the story. The manage better story is more around when I was starting my online journey 5 6 years ago. A little bit more concentrated journey, I would say. I've been writing for long, but a little bit more focused. I think it was end of 2018-19, around that period. I was looking for a name for a website, and I didn't want a name related to leadership because A, there are too many, and B, I generally believe that the future of leadership is management. So there's just too much ज्ञान being thrown away on in the name of leadership. किसी को कुछ पता होता नहीं. But everybody likes to talk about leadership. So my view was that get your work done, and that is management. And if you can do it better every day, you will. So that's how the name, just I found that name, manage better,
Okay.
and that remains my brand. The stuck to shine is actually, the shine part is more important. The stuck part was just for a post that I had created, not a post, a YouTube video.
Yeah.
The shine is actually an acronym for hard work in middle management. And if you permit me, I'll take 1 minute to just explain that acronym.
Sure.
So S is for socially adept or socially fluid. Can you be in a room when and you can float around, meet people socially? So that ability is required. H is for hard work. Nobody fires a hardworking person. I is for intellect or problem solving capability. If you're not solving problems, particularly when you grow and you're just doing your work, you will be fired one day, sooner or later. N is for numbers. You don't meet your number. You do all of this and still don't meet your numbers, you will still be in trouble. E is for emotionally agile people because in a long career, you will fall a lot. If you can't get up, dust your clothes, and then again start running, then nobody cares about you. You can keep having your victim story, and nobody bothers. Nobody should bother also. So that emotionally agile is extremely important. So that SHINE is actually an acronym, and I've spoken a lot about that for a while. So that has also kind of stuck as a framework that I talk about. There are others as well that I often speak about, but you seem to have done some good homework in pulling out the three most common ones. So thank you.
Amazing. And just a note on frameworks themselves. Essentially, if to the audience, if you think of a framework, what it does is it gives you a point of reference to understand a concept, right? That's what acronyms also do. Like Anshuman just mentioned about Shine, right? In the context of work or of a career. So, and it's just how the human brain sort of works. When you put a framework out there, automatically there's this perception, oh, this person might know this topic really well. Some people put frameworks out there and there isn't enough depth. Obviously, we're fortunate to talk to Anshuman with, he's really put a lot of work into these frameworks. So just something to keep in mind. Moving on to the next one. So now we have the last 10 minutes, so we're going to talk rapidly about a bunch of Anshuman's content topics. So what are your inspirations and process in picking topics to write about? Because you write so extensively, and quite often, like, there are 2 or 3 posts, I almost feel like I was scrolling through your LinkedIn feed and I was like, I've gone through so many posts and it feels like I've only gone through 1 month, because it's so prolific. So, but taking a step back before we talk about the actual process of creating the content and sharing it, where does the inspiration come from and the process in even picking the topics?
So, firstly, thank you for going through what I write, because at least I know that one person has read all of that. Um but I mean, I can't say there is some inspiration, or I'm generally I generally avoid heavy words, because then you start to think, you start to wait for inspiration, right?
Hmm.
If you want to show up daily, then you have to show up daily. There is no inspiration, motivation, and all that gyan is required. If you have to, then you have to. So I made a commitment that I will try and share whatever I can. So that is one, and maybe that is an inspiration in a way, right? So that I've made a commitment, and a lot of people write to me, and one of the reasons, I mean, read every comment on my posts. Even if I can't reply to them, I want people to know that I read every comment, and that gives me great joy. That if the person has taken some part of his or her life, a few minutes or seconds, to give it to me, to respond to what I'm writing, I am truly grateful. So that is definitely an inspiration in that sense. The process of picking topics, see, I generally only write about career guidance, so it's not that I write about films or other things. So topic is pre-decided. It is about career guidance, or you can say within the career coaching kind of a space. So not very difficult to pick topics, and I'm full-time employed, so I get a lot of meetings, I get a lot of conversations, I speak to a lot of people, like this conversation.
Hmm.
uh, all that gives me quote unquote content to write about, so I don't have to really repeat content, because every day is a content machine for me.
Amazing.
So all I have to do is to note it down somewhere, and from a process point of view, I note it down in a note taking app, and then construct a post around it, you can
Yeah, I
say.
mean, you already.
Some
Sorry.
posts, of course, some posts take longer, because you have to put a video, or a carousel, or an image. So, but other than that, it's easy.
Okay, so I mean, you if I were to reiterate, you essentially you take an inspiration, or there are lots of different sources that you have in everyday life that become means for content, and then you take your note taking app, which you can then sort of break down. You take notes, and you can then spend more time, and then decide whether it's going to be a carousel video, etc. According. Anything you'd like to add
Correct.
to that?
Not much, I think. So this has served me well for 4 or 5 years. But I think now probably I'm at a stage for some months where I should put in a little bit more effort to and become a little bit more diligent around this, and put more
I
effort.
think the audience will be
So
wondering, if this is not diligence, then what is the next level diligence that Anshuman's talking about?
no, no. I mean, see, every mountain you climb, there is a next one, right? So I do feel at that, and I remain grateful for the followers who appreciate. But I do feel that I can now put in a little bit more effort and be a little bit more diligent. Maybe reduce the frequency, but improve the quality of the post. And so that's something I've been thinking of it. Maybe at some point it will
Okay.
change. But the system I shared with you, system is very simple. Um there is one post every day which is well thought out, Rest of the posts, if there are multiple posts in that day, are just during the day something that I thought
Hmm.
about. I convert it to a post. So one post is the thought out post, and the others are just, I would say, during the
That
day.
you put out. Amazing. So these are from Anshuman's all-time presence. This is not 6,900 impressions. This is 6,900 engagements. So, for example, this post itself got 6,000, 5,000 plus likes, etc., and then comments and reposts. This one was about you wishing Amitabh Bachchan ji, on his 80th birthday and how he still is working. Why should he be working? This was interesting on Starbucks, where you said, I don't really see any value in buying anything from Starbucks, but it was actually an appreciation post for the CEO of Starbucks, who, when he came in, spent 1 month as an internship on the shop floor. And this one you said was personally, like you said, this is one of my proudest achievements that I have achieved, which is your kids in a bookstore. Um, which, yeah, I mean, it's obviously a lot of engagement. Anything you'd like to point out about any of these particular posts?
These are all accidental. I think I didn't write it for the engagement or likes, but the Amitabh Bachchan was very different because I think I still remember the day. It was something else was scheduled for that day, and I was on my morning walk, and I realized I think listening to something, I realized today is Amitabh Bachchan. So I am not a very big movie fan or a very big Amitabh Bachchan fan or something. What struck me is that the guy is 80 and working really really hard. Why does he need to? He doesn't obviously need the
Yeah.
money. Everybody needs money, but if somebody doesn't, then he is. So I some thought pattern emerged, and I came and wrote, and Sunil Shetty commented on that post after a while.
Okay.
So credit is to Sunil Shetty. Yeah, yeah, I think by the time the post was like working well, I would say, but he commented, and then the post just once it kind of flies, then it flies. So the jet propulsion engine
Sunil
was
Shetty
Sunil
ji.
Shetty. The Starbucks one was again an interesting one. I don't like Starbucks at all. I think it's totally snobbish and very highly priced. Why would somebody pay for coffee, which anyway you can't make? If you give a blind test to anybody, 9 out of 10 people can't make out. But there is snob value like iPhones and all. Maybe I come from a different era, but what I loved is that the how the CEO this thing, and coincidentally that post did well. The third one was very personal, and it was a lovely photograph, and I just made a post around that. There are actually others. Some video posts have done really really well as well. Like one where I said that um, smart work is all
Yeah,
crap
this
advice or something. Yeah. Oh yeah, you have that.
top from the
Okay.
last 12 months. So cute crap now.
Hmm.
We talked about, I love that phrasing, cute crap number one. And in the top two engaged ones of the last year, you've actually sort of used that a little bit. And the third one was obviously
Yeah.
when you were giving your second talk at ISRO, and so interesting that, like you said, what you remember most about that talk was someone who had come for the first talk 12 years ago then came and said, I'm seeing you.
He was an intern, I think it was his first day or first month or something when the first talk happened. And of course, now he was a fairly middle management senior person, and he did come up, and so that was lovely actually. Some things you remember, you don't remember the talk as much as you remember the people interaction that
So
happens.
just on this one, Anshuman ji, do your thing about, and we're actually a minute from closure. I would request the audience, if you don't mind, because I think this is a great conversation. We might go over by about 4 5 minutes, but do stay with us. We just have a couple of more slides to go. But on this particular one, so you're very candid, and you're upfront, and you're saying, "Ye bakwas hai, and that's rubbish, and leaders shouldn't talk like this," right? So, but others might think twice about, okay, should I speak this way? How will it be seen? How will it be received? Do you have any, quick advice on how to think about it, and just sort of speak more candidly?
See, everybody has a brand. I've been like this. I'm not like this on LinkedIn alone, right? So, if you have met me once, and you might recall a little bit, I'm like this only. So I just bring myself to LinkedIn. So I don't have to think too much to create a persona for LinkedIn. Um, I generally talk like this in meetings. I generally talk like this all the time. So I don't have to construct some special persona for LinkedIn. And so that can be advice for people who want to build that. You will have a persona, so your persona will click. There will be people who will like your persona, unless of course you are a person who nobody likes, which is unlikely. But if you're generally a little likable person in life, and people come to you and you go to people and you can click with people, take the same person and bring it online. Otherwise you have work to do in real life. Don't do that work online. Online is rubbish. You have to do that work in real life. Become a better person, become the person you want to be. Better in the sense, whatever is your definition of better, and then bring that person online. So I would say that, don't create a persona
which you got.
online which is very
Yeah.
different from who you are. Don't aim for that, right? Of course, you can. Suppose you are, active on Instagram, on LinkedIn and X. You might package it a little differently for all these media, but I don't think too much difference is
And
needed.
actually, that segues nicely into this question, right? Because Anshuman and myself, we talked about acha, what sort of stats we should put about there, and why don't you aap hi bol dijiye, sir? What is your impression about impressions? Because that gets a lot of spotlight, and people are constantly looking at getting more impressions about their posts, etc. So, what is your impression about impressions?
See, generally, my impression doesn't really matter, because I have my own life, and my life is my life, and other people live their own life. For example, and I give this example quite often, that if somebody's business is connected to
Mhm.
LinkedIn, then they obviously need more impressions, better engagement, more followers, and so on, because that becomes their part of their sales funnel and all. For me, my bread and butter comes from my job. So this is, in a way, you can say, a hobby for me, or an investment in future. I'm building my brand for whatever I'll do after 55 or 60, or whenever I choose to retire, or I get fired, or whatever. So for me, impression is a completely different thing from somebody who's building a business using
Got it.
LinkedIn. So that's how I think about it. And so I don't have a particular affinity, or I don't have to check, but that is me. Me, as in people who are working full time, have a job, something like that.
Last two questions actually. This this is something that
Sure.
you wrote about just recently, and we all talk about this context of this thing of manifestation, right? But your early journey, I think this is potentially your first job, if I'm not mistaken, straight out of college
After
after
MBA,
MBA,
yeah.
and you, it seemed like in the post, and I would invite Anshmaji wrote this, I think, just in the last week, 10 days, but the
Yeah.
diligence with which you followed up to ensure that that reality actually fell in place. Like you said, you were already working there even before you had got the job. So is there
Yeah.
something to be learned there for someone who is maybe going through a difficult time right now, in wanting to in a job search maybe?
So see, I had made a certain choice that I wanted to work with Kimpro during my MBA, and I left no stone unturned to get a job, even though they had said that they don't hire MBAs. So, long story, some other day. But eventually, I mean, manifestation and all word didn't exist all that time, but I did whatever I could. So, no real lesson for anybody else, except that work hard. If you want to achieve something, don't live tomorrow saying that you could have done better yesterday. So that's all I can say. I mean, it worked out for me. It might not have worked out. I was this close at not getting a job with Kimpro. because I got one, the story becomes really sexy. But what if I didn't get it, right? So maybe the story would have been different. So I don't attach too much romance to this. Everybody has to work really, really hard. 99% of the people, all of us, have to work really, really hard. So that's the only lesson I can share.
And has anything changed post Top Voice?
This is a question others can answer, but uh, my wife still gives me a shopping list. I still take a jhola and go and get my grocery. So nothing has changed, man. I think I've become a little complacent and maybe less diligent and less serious, um, if at all. So I should work harder.
Got it.
So.
And last question: what is one thing you can talk about every day for the next 1 year?
Oh, quality management. I can talk about the importance of management all day, any time of the day, night. Not by 1 year, 100 years, if I live that long. Uh, so I'm not too sure if the feed is still on, but uh, we've lost Kern from the feed. Is he still around? Can somebody confirm if you can hear me, see me, or is the feed still on? Mhm. Looks like the feed is still on, but so those who are still live, I can say it was fantastic talking to you. Unfortunately, Karan had to
Oh,
drop, but
I'm, I'm back.
I hope. Yeah, sorry,
Sorry,
you're back.
sorry.
Yeah, yeah. So
Just like tech, when.
no problem, no problem, no problem. I just
But
yeah.
thank you. Quality management is what you said, and while yeah, so these are some key learnings as we wrap up. Thank you for the audience for being here. So focus on people. Leadership is a gift. Don't take it for granted. The Shine framework is actually as part of a video that Anshuman ji has posted about. It's there on his YouTube channel. Um, take notes on the move. That's something that he does, and then he spends time in developing the content. Don't underestimate the power of Sunil Shetty's comment, because that can play a disproportionate value over there. Don't construct a fake persona online, something that you can't sustain offline, because offline is, I mean, that's where you live your real world. And don't get lost in this thing of impressions unless it is very relevant to your business, context for your
Correct.
impressions in that sense. So thank you very much for this, Anshuman ji. Thank you for, there were many more comments over here. Sorry, folks, that I had a technical issue just at the very last moment. But thank you for joining here today. There are a few comments and this thing over there. I would request, like he said, Anshuman ji does check all the comments and questions. So if I can,
There's I think most are comments, but there is one question from Aman. I don't know if he's still in the call, but is about office politics. So may not be very relevant for your LinkedIn deconstruct session. So Aman, if you are listening, please write to me, DM me, and I will definitely try.
amazing. And like you said, thank you everyone for the comments that you shared. We don't have a live next week, but on the 22nd, I'm having a conversation with Robin Donicki from Zen Show agency. Is an executive search firm. Um, I actually haven't shared this on LinkedIn myself, but I've trained a martial art for a very long time, and Japan. Robin is based in Japan, and so we're going to draw some interesting parallels between martial arts and personal branding and executive search. So Anshuman ji, do join us in the audience if you can for that one. But for
Sure,
now, thank you very much. I really appreciate you being here today.
my pleasure. Thank you very much, and to my audience and current audience, keep working hard.